back, this is one of the, I think, easiest legislative exercises probably in the whole of what we're going to have in this Parliament. You simply add a word into a legislation.
Daly.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Mrs Harrison. Can I genuinely say what an honour it is to serve under your chairmanship? Genuinely mean that. It is a pleasure to follow a speech which I do not disagree with a word in respect to that. I congratulate Olivia, who sat at the back. This is one of the, I think, easiest legislative exercises probably in the whole of what we're going to have in this Parliament. You simply add a word into a legislation, which is cat, and then we achieve what has been said. And much as we all love goats, you know, and things, but we shouldn't be differentiating in respect of animals on value. We differentiate and judge things within this House on their meaning to our fellow citizens. And it is, to me, utterly bizarre that the law does not take into account cats because of how many people in this country own cats, how important they are to people in this, in our fellow citizens. And I hope the Minister, a well-known animal lover that he is, that will listen to this and will look into doing something which is very straightforward and which will make a lot of people very happy. And in this House, although we struggle from time to time, Mrs Harris, we have the opportunity to do something which will make people extremely happy. Of course.
Christie.
And I think he's made the point very clearly. It's easily done if we look at what is the purpose behind the legislation. The government has put forward the argument to say that it's one's a working animal or a financial value of the animal. But legislation, does he agree with me, should be designed. Stopping and reporting is with regards to alleviate pain and suffering, irrespective of what animal it is. And that would tie into the government's commitment to animal welfare and moving forward in doing the right thing. Does he agree with that principle needs to be behind the legislation?
James Daly.
My honourable friend, and Mrs Harris, I think I'm probably going to agree with everything that everybody says in this debate. So I would just say that's a very articulate point that is made in respect of that. And if it is the government's position that this is not enforceable in the sense that if a car hits a cat somehow, that's not an enforceable legal right compared to hitting another animal, I just don't accept that whatsoever. And I don't think there is, in my view, a logical argument in respect to the criminal law side in respect to this. I was a criminal lawyer for a long time, and this is a very straightforward matter to enforce, to report, and there is no ambiguity in terms of how this matter could be dealt with. In my few closing remarks, Mr Harris, I hope you will allow me to speak and to develop some of the points that my colleagues have made regarding not only the criminal law, but what happens after that. And there are some members in this room who I recognise who have listened to what I've said at least 2 or 3 times previously, because I think I'm on either my 3rd or 4th time of trying to persuade the government of my private member's bill. I've not been successful yet, Mrs Harris, but I continue to live in hope, and that is called the very nattily titled Pet Microchips Bill. And it relates to Gizmo's Law, and Gizmo's Law is a campaign that was begun many years ago by a lady called Helena Abrahams in my constituency, and it essentially does what's been articulated already. It is a campaign which would put a legal requirement. Now that, legal requirement, that's a very grand statement. It basically asks local authorities to do the right thing, that when a deceased cat is found, whether it be on the highway or elsewhere, that the local authority scan the chip if there is one, and it gets back to my honourable friend's point about the government's commitment to microchipping of cats, which would clearly help this point. But it is a very simple thing. People want to know what's happened to their pet. People want to know what's happened to their cats. And I can tell you, Helena, I was speaking to her today. She works 20 hours a day in her job. She set up a website which essentially is for this purpose. She looks to find and works with local authorities to reunite cats with their owners. And that, to me, is a wonderful thing to do, because it's about love, it's about care, it's about commitment, it's about doing something for other people, and about doing something for other people who have no other way of finding out what's happened. As my honourable friend opposite spoke, local authorities are very different in the way they approach this matter. Some local authorities just do not scan, do not make any effort whatsoever. And I won't name and shame at this moment in time. Some are better. But in terms of the scanning process, what we're simply asking is a duty to take the cat, to scan. We have a pet food company who've agreed to provide scanners for every local authority in the country who haven't got one, so there's no cost in respect of that. All you would need is a fridge or a deep freeze in respect of that. The cost and time involved in this is absolutely negligible. There is no cost. This is a law, my bill, Pet Microchips bill, and the bill that Olivia has articulated and brought forward is about care, it's about love, it's about doing the right thing, it's about something which sometimes in our debates in this House perhaps we miss. But this is very simple, it's very straightforward, it's an amendment in terms of the debate that we're here today that could quite easily happen within the criminal law, could quite easily be enforceable. We can certainly trust our police and other law enforcement to ensure that cats are treated in parity with other animals, and we can legislate for that. And in terms of Gizmo's law, in terms of Pets Microchips bill, I hope that everybody in this House will support, and I hope the Minister will support, a private member's bill which costs nothing, which does a lot of public good, and will make a difference to a lot of people's lives. Thank you very much, Mr.